asked her, the VP, today, because she's the most qualified person to do it, to lead our efforts with Mexico and the Northern Triangle and the countries that help. We're going to need help in stemming the movement of so many folks, stemming the migration to our southern border.
Quote unquote border czar. Vice President Harris was not a border czar.
Meantime, Vice President and border czar Kamala Harris facing some backlash.
What he said about Harris and immigration was not true. She was never appointed border czar.
And this will be her first visit to the U.S.-Mexico border region since she was appointed as the border czar by President Biden.
People are going to have to counter the misinformation. You already hear folks talking about the border czar. She wasn't the border czar.
President Biden tapped Kamala Harris, Vice President Kamala Harris, to be the border czar.
Now, she wasn't the border czar. That's what Republicans labeled her.
They were very critical of Kamala Harris, especially in her role as border czar.
Now what she's up against is folks lying about her border record, calling her a border czar.
Kamala Harris, who was appointed as the border czar.
The Biden team didn't declare her the border czar. They wanted her to work on kind of the root causes of immigration.
There has been so much criticism against Kamala Harris. You know, she was the border czar.
Calling her sort of the border czar, which wasn't necessarily the case.
So the border, if they weren't planning to address it in a major way, do not make her your border czar. She met with some of the Northern Triangle countries, but nothing has effectively
So
changed.
Democrats are now bold-faced lying, claiming that Kamala Harris was never in charge of the southern border. And they're pretending as if all of these old news articles and news clips just don't exist. But unfortunately for them, the internet is forever, so now they are all being exposed as frauds. Because just like 2 weeks ago, before Biden stepped down, they themselves were referring to Kamala Harris as the border czar. What happened? Why have they changed their tune now? Why are they going so hard to cover all of this up, you ask? Well, that's because illegal immigration and the southern border is one of the biggest issues in the upcoming election. You see, the southern border, illegal immigration, it used to be what some would consider a right-wing talking point. People on the left really weren't concerned about it. But now it's gotten so bad that they can't ignore it. And to be honest with you all, it's people in areas where they historically vote blue. They're the people who are the most affected by all of this. Because it's not like all of these illegal immigrants are pouring in and staying right in Texas. No. Most of them are flocking to big cities and inner cities. And those are the people who are most affected, people who usually vote for Democrats. But they're the ones who are being exposed to the violence. They're the ones whose kids and wives and sisters are the victims of these immigrants who are committing horrible acts in these cities. They're the ones whose resources are being taken away. And a lot of them, they have this animosity because they've been struggling in these communities for years, and in come these illegal immigrants that are getting preferred treatment. And like in places like New York, it boils down to simple stuff like people are battling over spaces on the sidewalk where they can have vendors or sell items. Now they're having all of these illegal immigrants set up their little shops and stuff. And it's gotten crazy in a lot of these cities. So this issue that these people were never concerned about, an issue they thought was only racist white people are worried about the border. That's what these people used to think, but now they're waking up and realizing, wait, all of those people who are complaining about the border, a lot of them aren't even really affected. It's me. It's me. I'm the one affected. I'm the one that usually has to worry about these people, violent people in the streets of New York City or LA or any of these big cities, Chicago, you name them. So the southern border and illegal immigration, it has become a huge issue. And it's not just an issue for one party, it's an issue for everyone. And they can't have their presidential nominee, they can't have it out there that, oh, this is the person in charge of the border. Everything you've seen wrong, all of these violent acts that have been carried out against innocent women and children from people who shouldn't even be in this country, look, it's Kamala in charge. So now they got to run damage control. And it's not just damage control, they got to ignore reality. They got to pretend like the things that they were just saying a couple of weeks ago, they got to pretend like they never said it. But as I've pointed out to you, there's so much evidence, they left so much evidence behind, that it's going to be really hard for them moving forward to deny this stuff. But then again, they rely on having a bunch of people who are uninformed voting for them. And that's one of the reasons why they're pushing for all of these immigrants to flood into our country, because they want them to be their voter base. Because their old voter base is waking up. And that's why immigration is such a big issue. Because their old voter base, they're realizing, wait, y'all are replacing us. And it turns out this great replacement theory, all of this stuff that they said was, oh, it's white people, they're scared of being replaced. No, people in the inner cities, y'all are being replaced. And they're starting to realize that, oh, it's trickling down, not even trickling down, it's impacting us the most directly. It's like y'all were waking up to the lies and some of the nonsense. Y'all were starting to realize what we were doing, so we kind of got to replace y'all now. But let's go ahead and listen to what Donald Trump has to say about all of this.
As border czar, Kamala threw open our borders and allowed 20 million illegal aliens to stampede into our country from all over the world. Under border czar Harris, illegal aliens are pouring in by the millions and millions and millions. It's going to be 20 million, maybe more than that by the end. You ever hear of gotaways? They don't include gotaways. You know what a gotaway is? The people that get in, which is probably most of them. It's probably already over 20 million. You know, we're losing 300,000 people a year to fentanyl that comes through our border. We had it down to the lowest number, and now it's worse than it's ever been. We had the best border, the most secure border we've ever had, and now in just a short period of time, we have the worst numbers in history. They're coming not just from South America, but from Africa, from Asia, from the Middle East. They're coming from everywhere. They're coming from all over the world, from prisons and jails, mental institutions, and insane asylums. You know, they go crazy when I say the late, great Hannibal Lecter. Okay, they say, why would he mention Hannibal Lecter? He must be cognitively in trouble. No, these are real stories. Hannibal Lecter from Silence of the Lamb. He's a lovely man. He wants to have you for dinner. He'd like to have you for dinner. These people are coming into our country, and terrorists are coming in at the highest levels that we've ever seen. You know, in 2019, Border Patrol put out a chart, and I don't believe this chart, but I like it. I use it all the time. It said during 2019, we had 0 terrorists. It's impossible, I think. But they said it. I'll take it. Where is Brandon? Brandon, is that right? 2019, the great Brandon Judd. 2019 from Border Patrol. 2019, they had 0 terrorists coming in. Now, I think it has to be. I'm sure some got in a little bit, but not very many. But they had it down at 0, so I use that all the time. But now we have hundreds and hundreds and thousands of terrorists coming into our country. What kind of a vice president or what kind of a border czar allows these monsters to come into our country? And this is just a small portion. These people are here now by the hundreds of thousands. And remember this, it's like anything else. They're just getting comfortable. They've just gotten here a little while ago. So you haven't seen the kind of crime that's going to be inflicted on our country. They're just getting comfortable. They're getting used to being here. They don't know about the words politically correct yet when you catch them and you do nothing, and then you catch them again and do nothing. They don't know. The only time they do something, if it happens to be Trump, because he talks about how the rigged election was a disgrace. Oh, he should get the electric chair because he said the election was rigged. But if you rape and kill somebody and strangle them and dump them in a creek, that's okay with these people because they're crazy. and we don't want these people running our country.
I mean, when you really think about it, folks, it's kind of scary that the mainstream media and the media in general has this type of control over people, where they can literally say one thing one day and then the next day pretend like they never said it at all, and people just go along with it. People don't question anything, and the media, they can put the facts in front of you, but they can explain them in their own little way and shape their own narrative. And instead of people looking at the facts and sticking to the facts, they will just listen to whatever narrative is spun around the facts. And it's just scary that we're surrounded by so many people who I guess just aren't capable of critical thinking. But if you ask me, I do think that the southern border should stay as one of the main talking points in this election. And I think Trump should double down, triple down, and quadruple down on talking about it. Because as I was explaining earlier, this has become one of those issues that's not just an issue within one party anymore. You know, all I know is my whole life growing up, it seemed like immigration and stuff, it seemed like that was more of something that was just discussed by the right wing and not the left. But now that we've reached this point, I think we gotta really focus on this, so hopefully something can change. And I mean, even worst case scenario, Kamala Harris is our next president. You know, I still think it's important to focus on this and send the message that, hey, you know, this is not okay. Having a wide open southern border is not okay. And it's not just half the country that realizes it anymore. Everyone realizes it. So this can't be something that we simply continue to allow to happen regardless of who's in office. But make no mistake about it, everything that we've seen happen over the last 4 years, all of this horrible stuff, is going to continue if Kamala wins. Because if Kamala wins, it's just going to be four years of more Biden. And by more Biden, I mean more Obama. It's not going to be some type of brave new world with a reimagining of things. You know, it's not going to be a brand new vision for America. No, it's going to be the same cruddy, crappy garbage that we just went through, with another puppet for president who's not really running the country. And it's scary because I fully believe that most people with half a brain can look at Kamala Harris and they know that she's not going to be really running the country. But they'll vote for her anyway because they hate Donald Trump that much. And that's what the last 3 elections have been about. How much do you hate Donald Trump? You know what I mean? And I honestly think that you could put a can of Spam up next to Trump and a lot of these people would vote for that. Because, I mean, what does Kamala Harris really have to offer? Not much. I think a can of Spam, at the very least, it will feed you for a night. Kamala Harris will just be a word salad with 0 calories that won't fill you up at all. But let me know your thoughts about all of this down in the comments below. While you're down there, hit that thumbs up, hit that subscribe, ring that notification bell. And if you find yourself getting too worked up by all of this, remember, it's just political cinema.